long list. But just to give you a sense that we interact with multilateral organizations, development agencies, NGOs, of course, some of our collaborators here, government, of course, and many in industry. And one of the things I would like to emphasize is that one of the things we are trying to do is leverage. We're trying to work with these different partners to see how they can even have greater positive impact as organizations. We don't think we can or should do everything. In fact, we're patently not trying to do that. We're trying to leverage greater value towards sustainability. This is how the Forestry Division is set up. Wolfram Pinker is here. He's the head of Smartwood. Greg Minnick, who runs trees, is here. Mark Camoli, who runs our markets work, is not here. So you'll get to meet them during the days. This is just a perspective numerically in terms of where Rainforest Alliance Smartwood program is in the FSC system. Suffice to say that we are a major player in the FSC system, have been from the beginning, and we have a very strong long-term commitment to the FSC system. We are very active around the world in 64 countries. And these are some of the services. You'll see at the top, actually, the ones we're most well known for are probably the Smartwood services and certification and auditing. But we're doing more work with retailers and wholesalers on how they can source sustainable products in agriculture, forestry, or tourism. We're doing a lot of training and orientation, including here in China. And we've recently gotten very engaged working with TNC, WWF, and many different organizations on climate issues and all sorts of other sustainability-oriented verification or certification work. Our history in China. We actually started, well, I went through my emails, and I still have my records going back to when email basically started. And our first work here in China was in 1999. We were invited to participate in a meeting with WWF China and WWF International, in which it was some of the first discussions about certification here in China. We certified the first forest under the FSC system in 2001. In 2003, we have the new Chinese National Certification Authority rules, and from 2003 to 2007, we worked very hard to ensure that we were both meeting those requirements and that the FSC system was robust in doing so. From 2005 until today, we've been involved with IKEA on a very extremely important project to orient people around the topic of forest and chain of custody certification. And in 2008, thank you. In 2008, we continue our certification work. We're working with the Beijing Certification Center on that, and we're focused on, among other things, bamboo, of course, SMEs, and our other certification services. Our commitments: long-term presence in China, develop the Chinese capacities to do this work, assist in the development of the FSC certification marketplace, and make FSC certified or equivalent forests viable and mainstream activity in all of China and the globe. Our concerns, and these are the trends that we have seen the last couple of years. Illegal logging is of major concern around the globe. There is higher environmental and social sensitivity. The investment organizations that are here will be able to reflect on that. Growing skepticism of sustainability claims by government and industry, and increased demand by consumers for transparency. The responses to that, we've seen both voluntary and mandatory policies to enforce change by all actors. We've seen the growth of independent certification. It now seems like there's an independent certification movement attached with almost every major industry around the world. And lastly, the growth of green building and green purchasing. In other words, the market desire, feed the market desire for more sustainable raw materials and products. I'm going to quickly go through an example of illegal logging and how this is now evolving. Here are some numbers on the concerns about and the dynamics of illegal logging around the world. China's at the center of concerns, not just because of China itself, but because of many of the countries that source wood that comes to China. Here's estimated illegal timber imports in 2005. And here's some of the recent government actions in December. I'll point to the last one down at the bottom. An MOU was signed with the United States government, between the United States government and the Chinese government, to address the issue of illegal timber trade. So what we've been doing is researching legality. We've gone to basically develop standards for it. There are two parts of it: verified legal origin and verified legal compliance. We've taken those standards out for public review around the globe. We know that they have to be adapted for each country. And as of April 2008, we are implementing both verified legal origin and verified legal compliance around the globe. And these are the pieces of VLO. And then you have verified legal compliance, which covers broader issues, so that it covers both VLO and other aspects. So from our perspective, remember that the goal is sustainability. So from our perspective, VLO is just a starting point. Legality should be just a starting point. After VLO, move towards full FSC certification with various tools for doing that. So from our perspective, VLO and VLC are milestones towards sustainability. They're not the destination. This is just another graphic illustration of the step approach towards FSC certification. We are working with most of our clients on a 5-year time frame for making these things happen. Here's a verification statement for a client in which they are able to distribute to their buyers that we've gone out and verified their sources. And here is what you see is an actual coating on the loads of logs. After 20 years of experience, our experience indicates that a globally consistent approach is necessary with region-specific investments if we're to attain sustainable forest management and a sustainable trade. Major continuing investments are necessary, but they also need to be framed by quantitative and qualitative targets. Invest in leadership, because leaders show the way. The challenges in front of us are 3, and I look forward to having conversations with you about them. First, how do we use our FSC experience of almost 18 years to address current challenges and use them to increase the global demand for legal and more sustainable products from China? How do we ensure that the needs of SMEs are addressed? So it's not just the big companies, but also the SMEs that are able to capitalize on this dynamic. Because as we've seen in many countries, the data suggests that SMEs are a continuing engine for innovation and success. And what's also lastly realized that markets are not a panacea. So sustainability in the marketplace is part of the puzzle. Government is not a panacea, but it's also a solution. How do we use both to promote positive change? In conclusion, I'd like to just say that we're having some planning meetings right after this meeting, and believe it or not, I think there are either 10 or 11 people from Rainforest Alliance here. So if the Rainforest Alliance staff could just stand up very quickly and then sit down. There you go. Thank you very much.